Hello, Wendy.
Hello, Jane.
Welcome to Love Letters, Life, and Other Conversations.
Hello, Jane.
Hello, Wendy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Isn't this funny? We're doing this from one bedroom to the other.
Yes, we are. We still need separate devices, but it is very fun to be in the same house.
Exactly. What are we talking about today, Wendy?
Today, we are discussing what characteristics we look for in a friend.
Well, I did have a little bit of a think about this. We're sort of coming off the back of the podcast that we did a few weeks ago, where we used Megan's, I think we called her Eve, didn't we? My friend Megan, who does not mind me using her name, she sent me an email about our friendship and about friendship maintenance. And I think we're coming off the back of that, really, aren't we, to discuss, okay, what qualities do we actually want in a friend? And we might even delve right down into what's non-negotiable.
Yes, I think it's a great point to make. And I think we're also coming off the conversation of your childhood poem or the friend that you were excited to have.
Was seeking.
Right.
Who didn't exist. I thought it would be a little bit of fun to look at friendship traits. And I thought if I went through a few traits and you could say agree or disagree, what do you think?
Perfect.
Just as a little place to start. I think these are pretty standard, but
I think so. I imagine as well, it's similar to looking at a menu and I think I know what I want. And then I hear you order and I want one of those too.
I want one of those as well. Exactly. So this would be, to me, I guess, absolute, I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, but this would be my low bar, right? I am trustworthy.
Right.
Agree?
Agreed.
I mean, I think we can all agree that trust has to be there and trustworthy. You know, I was out for lunch with a friend on Monday and she and I had both heard varying accounts of a story about two other friends. And she had actually spent some time with one of the other parties and she had the lowdown on it. And she said to me, let's call her Eve. Eve does not want me to discuss any of the details of this with you. And I said, fair enough. I wondered if over the course of the lunch, any of the details would come out, but they didn't. And she was completely trustworthy to the third party. We discussed things that we had both heard about the situation, but she did not give one iota of information that she had got from one of the other parties. And I love that. I love that when people do that because it means that they're trustworthy. I mean, if they spill every secret, then you're going to be thinking, well, what are they going to tell about me?
That's right. It's definitely to her credit, especially after identifying the boundary that was being put on the conversation and then allow so much time and conversation to continue and not relax that boundary.
Yeah. The boundary was never relaxed.
Right.
And I think that, that's one of the great things about boundaries, isn't it?
For sure. If you can keep them intact, they serve you well.
Yep. They're not always easy to keep intact, though. Go along beautifully for a while and then boom.
Right. Yeah. Are they boundaries or are they suggestions?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'll throw out a characteristic then that is
Yes.
also scraping the bottom of the barrel, but honest.
I was just about to say honesty with each other. I was going to say exactly the same thing. And, we're talking about emotions here. We're talking about trust being an emotion. We're talking about honesty being an emotion. I mean, there is no friendship if there is no honesty, right?
And those two things are linked, because I think that not being honest is most likely a trust issue.
Yes. And not trusting comes from generally some sort of trauma that has happened. It might be from a childhood trauma. It might be from an adult trauma. It might be from a recent, a friendship that tested trust and tested honesty, and you've been left wounded. Doesn't matter what our age is, we can still become wounded, can't we? And trust and honesty are two of those things that we can be wounded so easily. And, you can be back as your 5-year-old self, feeling very, very vulnerable. And that's when we put up walls and, don't trust. Once there's been dishonesty, it's very hard to come back from that, I think.
Agreed.
Dependability.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Dependability.
Absolutely.
I like to think that I'm generally a very dependable person. If you ask me to do something or I say that I'm going to do something, I will do it. And to me, that is a core attribute of friendship.
It's respect.
It's respect. I mean, I know it's not always possible to be dependable, but it's always possible to be that friend that is polite and says, hey, you know what? I said that I would call, or I said that we would go to the movies, or I said that we would, I don't know, make Christmas puddings together. And things come up, but always be the person that says, you know what, something else has come up, or one of the kids needs me, or, my great aunt Martha is needing some attention and I'm going to be away that weekend. If we communicate and let friends know when we can't be that dependable person, then we still stay intact as the dependable friend. Some people just don't bother telling you, and that's really disconcerting because you just don't know where you stand.
Right, especially if you value that trait more so than the other person. They might not think it's as big of a deal because surely you'll understand, you have a lot of things going on as well. But for you personally, that communication piece is really pivotal for this to continue in a way that is enjoyable, in a way that you're available for.
Yeah. Have you got another one that you'd like to throw at me?
Well, I have a question, actually. I'm wondering, do you have several long-time friendships? The reason I ask is I have a few friends. I would say I have 5 friends I'm thinking of right off the top of my head. We've been friends for over 20 years, but
yes,
that's not even half my lifetime ago. So although it sounds like a long time, we became friends as adults, and I continue to make friends as an adult. And so the characteristics, seem to be in line with my personal evolution and my personal trajectory. And so I'm just wondering, for you, if you have any, like if you have really long-term friendships, how do you find navigating through the difference between being friends for 30 years and being friends 30 years ago?
Mm. Okay, that's an interesting, it is interesting, Wendy. First of all, I sort of have three sets of friends, funnily enough. I have four girlfriends that we went right through school together. So we met in junior school and we've been to each other's weddings, christenings. Some of us have even attended funerals of each other's family members. Well, all of us have attended funerals of each other's family members. Up until the pandemic, every October, I would come back to Australia, and the second weekend in October, we all went somewhere together for 2 nights. And we would just have a massive catch up and sit up and talk all night long and go out for a breakfast the next morning, go for walks, and, just really beautiful. And I looked forward to it every year. And we haven't been able to do it 2020, 21, and it may not even happen this year. I'm not sure. So I have those friends, and they are my oldest friends. We have within that group, various members of that group have been bridesmaids to each other, confidants. We've cried together, we've laughed together. They are my oldest friends.
I love that.
Then I have a group of people that sort of come between the 20 and 30-year friendship. And they are friends that I have made as a result of children.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Children going to school, children making friends with other children, and the mums getting to know each other, the dads getting to know each other. So there's a big group of friends there. And they're like all different types of friendships. Some are very, very close. I could share quite intimate details of my life with, and others are more, fun friends that I maybe wouldn't share some things with. So there's all different types of friendships in there. And both those groups, the oldest friends and the big group of friends, when it came to our daughter getting married at the end of 2019, that's where I went to look at who we were going to invite.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And, everyone came out of those two groups. And that now includes French friends, because we've been here 18 years. So they then form part of that longer term friendship. And then there is another group. I say another group. There's two people that are in a little group on their own that I can say anything to. And they can say anything to me. And I feel very lucky to have two of those sorts of people in my life.
Now, that's interesting. So when you say you can say anything and they can say anything, does that come from like a quality of zero judgment? Is that what you mean?
It does come from, there is very much a feeling of non-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
There is an intense feeling of empathy for one another, which I think being non-judgmental and having empathy is really important to get into these really. I listened to a podcast about this a while back. I think it was Brené Brown, and she talked about big friendships. I think I might have brought it up when we were talking about Megan's maintenance idea of maintenance friendship. Big friendships, what are they? They're when you can show great empathy for one another, be non-judgmental, listen and really listen to one another, and be really supportive of each other in good times and bad, and really bad times, that there is someone that you can pick up the phone and they're going to be on the other end of the phone for you.
Right. In physically, emotionally, in every way, they will be there for you, even if you lose your words.
Yeah. And sometimes we do lose our words. Sometimes we're so upset about something that it's almost like we've got a stutter. It happens to me. I can't get the words out sometimes. If I'm really upset about something, there's only really two people I will speak to when I'm in that state. What about you?
I think I probably have two groups of friends. So I have a friend, my oldest friend that I still communicate relatively regularly with is a friend from high school. So that's my oldest friend. She was a bridesmaid. I was a bridesmaid.
Yeah.
All of those things. But we live on opposite sides of the country, but we adore each other. And so there's actually one that's kind of I've had so many lives actually. So that's another podcast. So I love those friends that I can pick up exactly where I left off. It's as if no time has passed. We are committed to each other in a way that is really profound, but it has very little requirement on either side. So nobody is feeling jilted for not receiving a phone in sometimes 2 years. But there are some pretty regular check-ins that it's like, hey, I'm thinking of you. And that's it. And then I have friends from this 20-year mark from my current lifetime when that one started. And those friends as well. Some I speak to every week. Some it might be every month. But again, there's this beauty that comes from having history with somebody and having this whole life together. We've talked before about how Amelia didn't come join our family until I was in my late 40s. So Keith and I have essentially started as empty nesters and will, as we grow old, right at the time we probably need some assistance, Amelia will be 20 years old and it'll be so great for us.
And she'll fly off into the sunset. No, she's never going to fly off into the sunset, but she will. You will become empty nesters a lot later, won't you?
Right. But it's really to have had all of these experiences with these people. And then I have a group of women that we have been really intentional about connecting on a weekly basis. However, some of those weeks, it is multiple times a day. We met virtually 2 years ago. And although, some of us have met in person since, because we had this connection that became available because of technology, it has served us so well. And this band of women they're a complete lifeline to me. And we are this for each other. We use this group as really just as a way to get through our days. So anything that comes up that is feeling, it puts us off in some way, we have this practice with each other where we just call it, I'm just getting this out of my body. And we write the thing, we type the thing into our chat. And like you mentioned with your group of friends where you could say anything, there is no judgment. There's immense empathy, but there's not to the point where it makes it heavy for the other people. So I can say whatever I need to say in that place to get it out of my body. And what I can count on those women for is that they are going to support me, that they are going to talk me through what's happening. And also, by acknowledging, letting me feel the feelings, but not letting me stay there. And I think that has been such a beautiful gift, that because we have this very dynamic relationship, our recovery time is so fast now.
You're all probably giving each other tools that work as individuals, and then you can pass on to each other. And we were talking about this just the other morning while we were having breakfast, about giving each other tools to pop in your back pocket that work, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that we talk about, and tapping, and everyone's got incredible tools that work for them, that if they share with their friends, and help and use it as a way to discuss issues, even the most joyful of times sometimes require tools to even get through the joy.
Yes, and we can share our wins, we can share our less than great days. We are just, and we're all, so, going back to the traits that were not available for, the traits that are really important to me and what I treasure in this particular group of women is that they are committed to being the best version of themselves. And we collectively want that for ourselves and for each other. And so we are willing to hear and integrate feedback and suggestions and pivots. And there's this positivity that is not, I've heard the term toxic positivity. I don't know exactly what that is, because people might think that I suffer from it. I'm just happy. I bring my happy with me. That might be toxic to somebody else, but it is authentic to me. And I love that this is a very high vibe group of women that are honest with where they are. And we allow each other to go low when we need to be low. But
so you're definitely not talking about toxic positivity, because toxic positivity is really, well, this is how I imagine it, the definition. It's really, it doesn't matter how dire or difficult or awful a situation is, that you maintain a positive mindset. And you don't do that. You allow yourself to hit the bottom of the barrel and go through murky waters, right? So I don't think that you are an example of toxic positivity at all.
Well, thank you.
And, if we think about things like that tapping, which we were talking about the other day,
right?
The whole idea of tapping is to get that, whatever it is that is the problem, to get it out, to speak it, to feel it, to get it out. So not to, squash it down and maintain a positive mindset at all times. I just think that's fake. We can't all be upbeat all the time. And it's great to have tools to be able to tackle some of the awful things that happen.
Right. And what you get out of your body cannot make you sick.
Exactly. Yes. I would not suggest that you are an example of toxic positivity at all.
It has been suggested. So thank you. I'll send them to you. Yes.
No, I think you do express sadness. You do express grief. You do express when you are upset about something or someone. And just because you express it in a calm manner, we've just been downstairs and we were having a discussion, which I won't reveal what it was, but the three of us podcast
team
people, and you got really upset and you cried. And I got up from the end of the table and gave you a big hug.
I cried more.
And that is not a toxic positivity person. You went to where you needed to go to express that part of the conversation that we were having.
Thank you for meeting me there.
Well, I think that is probably, the most important part of friendship is being able to meet people where you need to meet them. We all have friends that can't meet us where we need them to be. We all have the friend that we meet where they need to be met.
Right.
And we give them the space that they need. And sometimes they're not the people that can give us the same back. It doesn't mean that they're not our friends or that we don't love them as much as we do. It just means they're incapable of being the same friend to us.
Right. That's an excellent point.
I can think of half a dozen people that can't be there for me at the same strength that I can be for them.
And how that's
and
fine.
I just accept that.
Right.
Not always graciously, but I do eventually accept that and lower my expectations.
Right. And maybe even just a slight reframe from lowering your expectations to managing your expectations, because this special thing that I have with that tight-knit group, that is not available in every friendship that I have. And
No.
I don't expect that same level from anyone else. And so when we're able, and we're mature women, we know that not everyone's going to be available, and there is no one person that can meet our needs except for us. We are her, we are that person.
Yes.
So, being healthy in your friendship with yourself makes you a better friend, and also allows you to see that you need different relationships to have a full rounded human experience.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Anything else that you see as really important in friendships?
Like I said before, I bring my happy with me. So for me, starting a friendship with somebody at my ripe age of 53, I need somebody who has a positive outlook,
yes,
who is not only inspiring and admirable, but is inspired.
Yes.
If there is someone
fun to be around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm only available for what delights me. So
I know you are. I
would like to be around delightful people that are up to big things, and, people that love, if they don't love their whole entire life, they love things about their life and
absolutely
are able to focus on the joy.
Yeah. Yes. But at all times being there, bringing space to those that need to vent or discuss, uncomfortable topics.
Right. And that's just holding space for people.
Yeah.
You don't know. Sometimes, you may have figured this out about me. I am a verbal processor, so I don't really know how I feel about something until I start talking about it.
Yeah.
So for me, in friendship, it's really important that somebody can hold that space for me and not require that I have it figured out before we start talking about it, because that's not how I function. No. So I need someone who can, be in there with me and ask me some questions, or at least just listen long enough for me to either stay where I was at the beginning or do a complete 180. It just depends on the topic.
Wendy,
Jane,
what are your 3 takeaways? What are your 3 top takeaways of essential ingredient in friendship?
Well, I love that how you have 3 groups of friends,
Mm.
and they're really based on chronological order of coming into your life.
Yeah.
I like that it can be, exactly like that, or there can be groups of friends that meet a different need
Yeah.
in our lives. We are multifaceted, mature women that, represent a lot of different aspects of life, and having a person or a set of people that resonate with each of those orbits is helpful, and it gives a more rounded experience.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
How about you?
I think you touched on one thing that I should sort of rectify. You say that my 3 groups of friends have chronologically come in different stages of my life, and you're right. That first group, the oldest group of friends, are the oldest group of friends. We've known each other for 45 years. That
Great.
second group, that sort of 18 years to 30 years, is definitely the next group. But that handful at the moment, 2 people, I think that depending on the time, depending on the stage, depending on the age, depending on the problem, my 2 big groups of friends can move in and out of that handful.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for one, see that sort of trustworthiness that very much is interlinked with honesty, dependability, and loyalty.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to reframe. I mean, everyone's not always going to be there for you all the time. And, you can get let down by people as well that
For sure.
you really thought would never let you down.
And we can let people down.
And we let people down. Absolutely. So I think that thinking of trustworthiness in terms of honesty and dependability and loyalty, and an ability to reframe, an ability to move, I guess, friends in and out of that really deep connection,
Yes.
which I think is, very far and few between. I, for one, don't find many people that want to go there, but there's a small handful of people that I feel comfortable to go there with.
Right.
And then sometimes that small handful move into this, my person.
Right. Right. I think another important piece is making sure that the qualities that we find desirable in a friend, that we're fostering those characteristics in ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Oftentimes someone will say, I just want someone to be honest. Like, there's no honest people. Like, oh my word. That's a little dramatic. So, maybe there are some honesty issues that need some attention in our own hearts if we're not finding a friend.
Yes, exactly. So I just think that it's very elastic, and depending on the stage and age and length of friendship and what it means to you, it can change. It evolves. And you can lose friends too. What's that saying?
For a season.
For a season.
Yeah.
Ugh, I really hate that because I hate the idea of for a season. It just doesn't sit well with my values, or
I can see that,
or with my Cancerian traits.
It's so
I'm not a for a season type of girl.
Mm-hmm.
If I
I do.
open myself up, I will be absolutely devastated if you're a for a season person in my life.
That's so interesting because I also have Cancerian values. Our birthdays are 2 weeks apart. And I am absolutely, I support if a season has ended that we part. Because
Yeah,
if it's not delightful for
I know.
both, you know what I mean? So
I know, but typically, I find that the season might have ended for one person, but maybe not for the other.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
terrible. I'm terrible at heartbreak.
I moved
Terrible at it.
I moved across country 10 years ago. And of course, I had, 100 friends that I did things with often. And when you move or when you make a big change, we get back into that friendship maintenance. And you're living in 2 countries.
Yeah.
So it takes more effort. And so when I reflect on the friendships that have maintained over the 10 years since I left California and the ones that were absolutely for that season,
yes,
I can celebrate both.
Yeah, that's great.
And something doesn't always have to happen, right? It can just be circumstantial.
Yes, I know.
Don't be sad.
And
we're not breaking up.
Yes. Okay. Well, I hope that won't happen to us.
No, if it does, I won't let it go easily like that either.
Love today's conversation, Wendy.
Yes, me too. And bringing it to us, like we became friends on Instagram. So there are all sorts of levels of friendships. There are all sorts of, there's a different depth to some friendships than there are to others, but they're all worth what we can learn from each other and what we can teach in those opportunities and making the most of them.
Exactly.
This has been fun, Jane.
It's been great fun. I look forward to our next conversation from bedroom 3 to bedroom 4.
Me too, friend.
Okay. See you in the kitchen.
I look forward to it. Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.
We have loved this conversation and sharing this love letter with you, and we would like to invite you to send us your love letters. Visit the link in the show notes to send us your letters and to join our email list. See you next week.